Hey everyone, this is Pete, and welcome back to Simmin and Chillin, a occasional series that I do when I feel like, where we play a comfy sim of some description and just chat about stuff, really. It's sort of somewhere between a let's play and a podcast, I guess. It's just an opportunity for me to chat about some things that aren't necessarily related to the game at hand, and just, you know, give you the opportunity to get to know me a bit better. So for the last couple of episodes we've been playing Euro Truck Simulator 2. It is very tempting to play that again today, because Euro Truck Simulator 2 is very much a happy place for me. But I thought we'd mix things up a bit and play some PowerWash Simulator today. If you're not familiar, this came out a little while back. It's actually by Future Lab, who are the people who made Velocity, which is an all-time favourite game of mine. Truly excellent combination of shoot 'em up and puzzle game. Very much like that. And this is their first dabbling with early access. And it's already quite enjoyable. I came to this game through Nyanas, the VTuber, who was obsessed with this for a short period. And she was having a lot of fun, and she found it a really good game to stream and chat with. So I thought we'd do something similar today. So our job today is to clean this bungalow. Hey Doc, you know I mentioned my folks. Well, I think it's time their bungalow met your pressure washer. It's so filthy it's hard to tell where the ground ends and the house begins. When I mentioned you to Ma, her eyes lit up. Pops moaned and said the brown of the porch, the warm of the torch, which clearly means nothing, so he was overruled. If you can give the place a good clean up, I'm sure that'd give them both a lift. Thanks again, Cal. So details are, we got all this stuff to clean. And that's basically it. So we start job. And off we go. So we can select our nozzles here. And we'll just get started. Just pick a place and get going, I guess. Let's start with a nice wide nozzle. There we go. Maybe one down. Okay. So yeah, I wanted to record one of these because I've had some stuff on my mind lately, and some of it is stuff I've talked about before, and some of it is stuff that I've not really talked much about in public, I guess. And I thought it might be helpful to me to try and talk about some of these things as sort of, I guess you'd call it a sort of means of therapy for myself in one respect. But there's the possibility, of course, that someone listening to what I have to say today might find some value from it as well. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And if I record all this and it's far too embarrassing to ever put out, then I guess you'll never see this video. But if not, well, I hope you derive some sort of value from it. And if not, I hope it gives you at least a bit of insight into who Pete is and what is on Pete's mind at various points. So basically what I want to talk about today is I want to talk a bit about health. I want to talk a bit about weight. Weight is something that I've always been very self-conscious about. I don't particularly like talking about it. I don't particularly like reference being drawn to it, but it is something that I am aware of and that bothers me quite a bit. And it's bothered me quite a bit for a long time over the years, really. So sort of pretty much ever since I was at school, I've been aware of the fact that I've sort of pretty much constantly gained weight. And this sort of really came into focus for me at university, when I guess I was sort of a bit more aware of the fact that I was feeding myself and probably having to take a bit more responsibility for what I was eating. But at university I was also making an effort to try and do exercising. I was joining clubs. I was part of the karate club for a while. I play sports with my friends. We'd go out and do stuff, and yeah, but at the same time, despite doing all those things, I was always gaining weight gradually, and over, I guess, sort of the last 10 years or so, I'd say it's got a bit out of control. Like I'm very overweight, and it worries me quite a bit. And I want to do stuff about it. But as anyone who's ever struggled with weight issues will know, it can be quite difficult to do stuff about it when you're sort of that deep in a situation. The main reason I want to do something about it is, I guess it must be a couple of years back at this point. I discovered that I have a hernia in my stomach, and it's very, very painful. The hernia, if you're unfamiliar, is where, this is gross, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna explain it anyway. It's basically where part of your guts are poking out from where they should be, and basically what that means is that if there's any sort of pressure applied to your belly, basically in the wrong place, your guts can feel it. And it's extremely painful when that happens, and because of the location of it, it also, without going into too much detail, it also affects other nearby areas as well, and can be quite painful for various reasons. And so I became aware of this. It was just before me and Andy went on holiday. Andy actually spotted the issue and wondered what this weird lump was in my stomach. And so after the holiday, I went and got it checked out, and the doctor told me that it was a hernia, and what had caused it, and what could potentially be done about it. And basically, the solution to a hernia is to go and have an operation. And this, in itself, is something that makes me quite uneasy, because I am absolutely terrified of hospitals. Completely irrationally, and I know exactly why I'm terrified of hospitals as well, and it's a really stupid reason that I might have mentioned before, but it's sort of jokingly, but no, it's like a genuine way that I feel about stuff. And the reason I'm so terrified is that when I was young, I used to semi-regularly pick up a magazine called ACE, or Advanced Computer Entertainment. And ACE was a multi-format magazine that covered everything from 8-bit home computers to sort of fairly obscure systems like the FM Towns and the PCFX and the Sam Coupe and all that sort of thing. And yeah, I loved it. I still do enjoy it. I've actually picked up a few copies of ACE recently to start reading again, just because I find them a fascinating time capsule of gaming at the time, and also providing some interesting insights into how things like the Japanese gaming scene was looked at the time, and what were the things that were generating a lot of hype at the time that never came to fruition, and the things that did, and so on. So yeah. Anyway, I was reading ACE, and ACE was a magazine that we got in quite frequently. And in this one particular issue of ACE, there was an advertisement for who made it? I think it was it Mindscape and the Software Toolworks, I think. They made a game called Life and Death, which is a game where you play the part of a surgeon. And the advert for this game was sort of very big on, you hold people's lives in your hands, you have the responsibility of keeping the patient alive, when the time comes you will pick up the knife, and all that sort of thing. And I found the whole advert very, very frightening. And because to this day I've never spent any time in a hospital, I've never had a hospital stay before, sort of one of my only sort of real points of contact with the idea of being in hospital was this advert, and also the few times when I had been in hospital when either a friend of mine was having a bad asthma attack. I was in there a few times sort of keeping an eye on him. And when my granddad was in there when he had heart issues. And when my nan was in there when she was very ill before she passed away. And also my mum spent some time in hospital for various reasons as well. And so I never had sort of a particularly, I guess, positive perception of hospitals. And this advert sort of seemed to be confirming all of my worst fears about them, like why I was so terrified of the idea of going into hospital, and why I was particularly terrified of the prospect of having an operation. I mean, it is a frightening thing. The idea of someone putting you to sleep and then cutting your body open to do stuff to it, that is frightening. So I don't think the way I feel there is particularly unreasonable, but I am aware that the reason I do have that fear in the first place is for a fairly silly reason. Also, alongside that, I can also attribute part of my fear of hospitals and surgery and things to an advert I saw on television only once. That was for something called Furnaceite, which to this day I don't really know what it was. But the advert was a really weird advert. It was basically riffing on a scene from a medical drama where sort of people were rushing around trying to save the life of someone, but they were trying to save the life of an oven. But it was again all presented in this very sort of frightening level of seriousness that made the young me very, very upset. Even though I only ever saw the advert once, it terrified me, and it sort of left me with a lifelong fear of hospitals and surgery and that sort of thing. So yeah, anyway, the prospect of having surgery to fix my hernia is not an especially welcome one, but I'm also aware that it is the only way to fix a hernia, because you can't just push it back in, because you have to fix the damage that's there as well. So the actual damage is inside. It's part of like your abdominal lining or something, I think it is. There's split, and that needs fixing inside. So there's no way you can do that from the outside. So I'm aware of that, and I've sort of come to terms with that, and the fact that if I want to get this fixed, yes, I will have to go into hospital. Yes, I will have to have an operation. I've sort of come to terms with that, even though I know when the time comes, I will still be very scared. But the problem is, I made arrangements with my doctor to get a hospital appointment, to get an ultrasound and everything to confirm that yes, it really was a hernia and it wasn't anything else. The hernia isn't life-threatening or anything, by the way, so there's nothing to sort of worry about. It's just very painful. In some situations they can be life-threatening, but in my case, no, it isn't life-threatening. It's not causing any sort of... It's not going to kill me. But it is very uncomfortable and it's very painful, so it is something that I want to get fixed at some point. So I sort of kicked off that process by talking to my doctor, and she referred me to a specialist at the hospital who did an ultrasound, and they confirmed that yes, it was a hernia as we suspected, and they referred me on to a surgeon, and we were going to make some arrangements, and so I went in to have a meeting with the surgeon and talk about the surgery and what to expect and that sort of thing. But everything came to a screeching halt at that point, because I spoke to the surgeon and he basically said, you weigh too much to have this operation done. Basically, if we do this operation with you as you are now, there's a near 100% chance of the hernia just coming back. And we're talking a lot of weight I would need to shed for it to be practical and worthwhile for them to do that surgery. we're talking somewhere in the region of like 8 stone, which is a lot. But like I said, I'm very overweight and very self-conscious and quite upset about it. And so I have shed a lot of weight before. A few years back when both Andy and I did the Slimming World program, I lost a good like 6.5 stone or so, and it felt great. I felt like the slimmest I'd been for years. I still wasn't sort of completely slim, but I'd lost 6.5 stone, and it had a positive impact on me. I felt better about myself. I liked the way I looked a bit more than I usually do, and I felt generally more comfortable in who I was and what I was doing. But what happened was various things conspired to pretty much undo all of the hard work that me and Andy had both done during our time with Slimming World. And we both put a lot of weight back on. And essentially, the upshot is that I ended up putting a lot more back on than I'd lost. So I'm now worse off than I was originally. And of course, alongside all this, there has been the pandemic. And what the pandemic has meant is that for a long time it was not at all desirable or practical to go outside. Yes, we were encouraged to get some exercise, but we didn't take that opportunity because neither of us are very fit, and we're both a bit self-conscious about just going and doing that sort of thing outside. I didn't want to go to the gym because I didn't trust the gyms during the initial part of the pandemic, and also they shut once we went into lockdown as well, so I couldn't do that. I didn't want to use my bike because I was worried I was too heavy for the bike and I would break it. And basically I was sort of constantly confronted with all these, I mean, let's call them as they are. They were excuses. They were excuses. I could have done something. I could have done something more throughout the pandemic, but I didn't. And I know I am far from the only person who has found themselves in that position over the course of the pandemic. And yeah, so that sort of put me in a difficult position in the first place, because I knew that I wanted to lose some weight and get this hernia thing sorted, but also at the same time I'd continue to put on weight. And what's worse is that because of sort of the pretty much complete lack of activity that we'd all had during the pandemic, I'd reached a point where it was actually getting painful to do stuff. It was getting painful and uncomfortable to do stuff. Like, I have days when like my back hurts a lot more than it ever has done in the past. I find it quite difficult to get to sleep because I find it hard to get comfortable because it, again, parts of my body hurts and I can't lie in certain positions because of my hernia, and I don't sleep well, and basically over the course of the pandemic I've developed a lot of complaints that I probably wouldn't have had the pandemic not happened, because although I don't take very good care of myself, I would have taken better care of myself if we were not in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, and if we hadn't had the lockdown, and if I'd been able to go to the gym and go swimming and that sort of thing. And so I'd sort of ended up left in a position where it was getting harder and harder to motivate myself to do something about this situation, because just the prospect of doing exercise and things was quite painful. Like it was quite difficult to do exercise because I got to such a point where my stamina was so low that just Just simple things like going up and down stairs is tiring. It makes me out of breath. And that's really demoralizing to be in that position, because it puts you in a state where you think, right, I've really got to do something about this, but then you start trying to do something about it. You start trying to do some exercise, and you get exhausted so quickly, and you think, well, why am I bothering? I'm never going to be able to achieve anything like this. And it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, really. And alongside all this comes sort of the, I guess, what would be the main reason I'm overweight in the first place, which is my relationship with food. So I like to eat. I enjoy tasty food. I enjoy things like cakes and sweets and that sort of thing. I'm very much a comfort eater. So if I'm angry or upset or stressed or tired or any excuse, basically, the first thing I turn to sort of quote unquote self-medicate is food. And because I am so riddled with the various mental health issues that are a result of everything from my Asperger's to anxiety and depression and my work situation over the years and all that sort of thing. Thankfully not the work situation right now, I hasten to add. I am the happiest I've ever been in work right at the minute, so please don't worry on that regard. But basically I've left my body in a bit of a wreck, a bit of a mess, and that makes it quite tricky to do stuff about it. And it's upsetting, it really is. It's upsetting, it's demoralizing, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing and humiliating. Like, I've had previous jobs where I couldn't really wear the uniform because it didn't come in a size big enough for me. Or I've had situations where I couldn't do something because I was too heavy or too large. And that's absolutely mortifying when that happens, because on the one hand, you know it's your fault to a certain extent, but at the same time, it also feels like the world has looked at you and gone, you're not worth anything. This world isn't built for you. You should go somewhere else. You don't belong here. And that's a horrible feeling. That's a really horrible feeling. Just feeling like not only are you not welcome, you just can't do certain things because of the way your body is. And as I say, I know that it's self-inflicted because I know why I put on so much weight. It's because I self-medicate with food. But that doesn't make it any easier. That knowledge doesn't make it any easier at all. So there's all that to think about. And that, of course, causes issues with self-esteem and the way you perceive yourself. So, like, I despise looking in the mirror at myself right now just because I'm so embarrassed about what I've become. And yeah, it's a difficult way to live your life. You shouldn't be looking at yourself and thinking, God, that's disgusting. But that is what I end up thinking sometimes, and I know I shouldn't, and I know that I should be valued and that I should value myself more, and I know that there are people who value me and people who love me and people who don't care what I look like and just care about the person inside, but I just can't help but be aware of all the things all the problems that my weight and size have caused for myself, and I'm sure for other people as well. And I really hate that side of things. It's really, really upsetting. So that's something that I've I'm sort of very much aware that I have to work on. So that's all important context for what else I want to talk about today. Which is the fact that although I've spent a goodly proportion of the pandemic not doing anything about this, despite thinking, well, I should probably do something about this. Just in the last week or so, I have started doing stuff about this. So what I've done is, a while back I joined a local gym, but my schedule was kind of put off when we had when we went back into lockdown and you couldn't go to the gym anymore. But the other day, what I thought to myself was, you know what, I fancy going swimming. I've not been swimming for like 3 years. I fancy a swim. And there was a pool I used to go to in Southampton, the city where I live. And it was a good pool. And it also had a gym there. So I looked into it and I determined that I could keep paying the monthly fee for the gym that I was a member of, and then pay for a monthly membership to the swimming pool at this gym, and that could be worthwhile. But I then determined that if I was going to be a member at this swimming pool, I might as well join the gym at this place as well. So I bit the bullet. I signed up for both the gym and the swimming pool at this venue in Southampton. And I thought, right, I'm gonna make a new start. I'm gonna make a fresh start. I'm gonna come to this sort of as if I mean it. And so I said to myself, right, I've started my membership on Monday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the gym on Monday. Then I'm going to go for a swim on Tuesday. Then I'm going to go to the gym on Wednesday. And go for a swim on Thursday, and so on, and continue through the week in that way. And as it happens, although we're out of lockdown, the gym has still been following its policies and procedures from when we were in the sort of lockdown light, as it were. So when you could go out, but you were sort of advised to stay in as much as possible. And what that meant was they had a booking system in place. So if you wanted to go to the gym, if you wanted to use the pool or whatever, you had to book. You had to book a time slot and say that, right, I'm going to be at the gym or in the pool from this time until this time. And that's that. Yeah, it's simple enough. But over the years, I found that kind of structure to be quite helpful for myself. I found that making a schedule for myself is very helpful. So what I did was I booked myself in for all of those sessions that I just described. I said, right, okay, so these are the sessions I'm going to do. I'm going to book all of these sessions right now, or as far as I could in the week. You could book like 2 days in advance or something like that. So I booked as many sessions as I could, and then throughout the rest of the week I continued to book in other sessions until I'd eventually filled up the whole week. And I'm pleased to say that in that first week I managed to get to the gym or the swimming pool absolutely every day. Now at the moment I'm aware that I am very bad at swimming, and that I'm not particularly good at the stuff in the gym either. I know I've got a lot of work to do, and I know it's not something that's going to happen overnight. This isn't a problem I'm going to be able to fix immediately, much as I wish it would be. And indeed, one of my most common sort of daydreaming idle fantasies is that if the genie in the bottle was ever real, my 3 wishes would be, firstly, that both Andy and I would be completely and permanently healthy. Secondly, that both Andy and I would be our ideal weight permanently. And thirdly, that we'd have loads of money. To be honest, I think between those three things, I think that would deal with a lot of the things that make me unhappy. Between those three things. As I say, both for me and for Andy, because Andy doesn't talk about it much, and I'm not going to speak for her by any means, but I know there are things that bother her as well, and I know that she'd be a lot happier if we were both much healthier. And so, like I said, that is my most common daydreaming fantasy, is just thinking, right, yeah, these are the things that more than anything I would like to happen to us. The problems that I would like to have resolved for me. But I also know that life doesn't work like that. There are no genies, there's no genie in a bottle, there's no 3 wishes. And so if you want something to happen, you have to do it yourself. And so I am extremely painfully aware that spending 1 week at the gym and the swimming pool is not really proving anything, nor is it especially achieving anything in particular. But it is a start. On past occasions when I've attempted to get into a fitness routine, I found the most challenging thing to do is to establish that initial routine. Once you establish that initial routine, once you've trained your mind and body to think, right, yeah, I'm actually quite enjoying this, I want to do more of it. Once you've got into that position where you are deriving some sort of satisfaction from the situation, that's when things really start to improve, and that's when you can start focusing on the things that you want to make a bit better. So I'm in that habit establishing part of the situation at the moment. But I think judging by this first week, it's going well. I was pleased with myself. I got to the end of the week and I thought, right, I've achieved something. It's not much, but it's a small victory. And even a small victory is a victory. And so what I need to do is to take things from there, keep up the motivation that I've managed to establish, and hopefully get myself into a better situation. And I know as part of that, I know that part of that whole scenario is going to be making sure that I eat better, which is the most difficult part as far as I'm concerned. But I'm not worrying too much about that initially. What I want to achieve with the gym and the swimming pool visits initially is to just improve the general situation with my body. So I talked before about how it's actually quite painful to do certain things right now because my back hurts or my joints hurt or my legs hurt or my arms hurt or whatever. The first thing I want to achieve is not necessarily to lose any weight, but to get into a situation where doing basic things isn't painful anymore. Or, at the very least, doing basic things is less painful than it has been. Because I have a certain suspicion I probably damaged myself beyond repair at some point, but, you know, I'm sure that's quite a negative way of looking at it, but I mean, I am 40 years old. I've spent a significant proportion of my life not really taking very good care of myself, and so, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if I'd done some permanent damage. But at the same time, plenty of people have also managed to make spectacular turnarounds as well, so I shouldn't give up hope just yet. Where is the... there. So yeah, all I want to achieve initially is that feeling that, okay, I'm making progress. I'm in a better position than I was 2 weeks ago. I feel better. That's all I want to feel to begin with. And from there, once I'm starting to feel better about myself and about what I'm doing, that's when I can start taking on the more challenging things like looking at what I'm eating and all that sort of thing. So that's the plan. And like I say, so far, the first week, it's gone quite well. I'm still sort of sitting here in a fair amount of pain. My back hurts. My joints hurt. If I sit down for too long, my arse starts hurting. But I'm doing something. And that feels reasonably good. And so that's what I'm aiming for at the moment. Basically because I'm sick of feeling like shit. And I'm sick of feeling like shit because of things that I've done to myself. And things that I can resolve. I'm not beyond hope. I shouldn't just give up. Because I think that is kind of the problem that I've had before, is that I've just thought, oh, well, I'm never going to be able to achieve what I'm thinking of here, so I may as well not bother. And it's that thinking that's kind of got me into the mess that I am now, because I've spent so long thinking that, oh, I'll never be able to fix myself, I'll never be able to sort myself out, I may as well just try and live with the way I am now. But I can't. I'm not satisfied. I can't be satisfied with being the way I am right now. I can't be happy that way. I have an ongoing health condition that constantly reminds me of my failures in that regard, in the form of the hernia. And so I just have to do something, basically. I have to do something because I can't carry on living that way. It just doesn't work. It's not any way to live. And so, like I say, I'm doing my best, and that is all I can really do for now, because it is going to be a long and hard process. The initial stages are going to be challenging. In particular, maintaining it is going to be challenging. But I'm doing something. And one of the things I've found while I've been reflecting on all this is that one of the most important things I've had to kind of come to terms with is that if you really want to do something like this, if you really want to make a difference to yourself, you have got to make the time to do it. You have got to genuinely want to do it. And that means sometimes that you might have to sacrifice something that has previously been important to you for one reason or another. And so one of the problems that I've had with all this is kind of resenting anything like going to the gym or that sort of thing, and sort of trying to push it back to the lowest possible priority in the day because I value my free time too much, basically. Like, I want my free time. I want my time to be able to play video games, to be able to sit down and enjoy myself. But it turns out, if you put sort of like fitness and personal well-being at the bottom of your priority heap, you don't get much in the way of fitness and well-being. And so you have to make it a bit more of a priority, because otherwise, well, it doesn't happen. And so this is where the scheduling side of things has been helping me, because it makes me prioritize those things. It makes me say, right, on Tuesday at 7 o'clock, I'm going to go for a swim. It's going to last for an hour. And I'm going to do what I can in that hour. At the moment, I just sort of get there and I sort of set myself a goal while I'm there to try and achieve. They're very modest goals at the minute because, well, I've never been a very strong swimmer, and I'm especially not a very strong swimmer right now. And so basically what I've been doing at the moment is just in my swimming session, I want to do 20 lengths of my slow fat man breaststroke. And I've managed to achieve that all the times that I've been in the last week, which has been pleasing. So that's a good start, definitely. At the gym, what I want to do is I want to try and do a minimum of 20 minutes of cardio. Cardio is always the bit of the gym that I hate the most because, one, it's boring, and two, it's the part that's most likely to make me feel discomfort because of my lack of stamina. But I found at the gym I'm going to now, the exercise bikes that they've got are actually genuinely quite comfortable. So I'm using the sort of sitting down ones where you can prop your back up, rather than the sort of ones that are a bit more like actual bikes. And so those are actually quite comfortable to sit in. So I'm quite happy to sit in those for 20 minutes at a time. If I remember to take my headphones with me, I can then just sit there and I can watch a video or watch some VTubers or listen to a podcast or something like that. And that 20 minutes is over and done with before you know it. Like, if I wanted to, I could even take the Nintendo Switch there. I haven't done that yet, but it would be perfectly practical to do so. So that's the bare minimum cardio-wise that I want to do at the gym each time I go. And then I just try and do a sort of a circuit of a number of the machines that I know how to use in terms of resistance training. I'm not very good with free weights, and I'm not very confident with free weights, so I haven't sort of incorporated any of those yet. I know it's worthwhile doing so because on previous visits to the gym I've got some value out of doing stuff with dumbbells and barbells, so I will incorporate those at some point. But I haven't just yet. But that will all come in time. And like I say, the change in thinking that I brought about myself, thinking of it as something that I actually want to do rather than an inconvenience that gets in the way towards the end of my day, has really helped so far. And I think as I continue with these efforts, that's going to be super important to maintain that feeling and think, right, okay, I'm not a gym rat or anything like that, I'm not a bodybuilder or anything, but one of the things that I do in the evening, one of the things that I want to do in the evening, is I go to the gym or I go for a swim. It's something I want to do. And as I say, if you can establish that feeling in your mind, that's a significant part of the battle taken care of. Because establishing those initial habits is one of the most challenging things to do when it comes to fitness and weight loss and all that sort of thing. Like, even if you're in as terrible a condition as I am, or worse. I know there's some people out there who follow me, who I've spoken to, who have it worse than me. And so I don't really know where I was going with that, but I guess I just want to say, don't give up, I think. Because I found it all too easy in the past to think, oh, it's too late. It's too late for me. I'm 40 years old. I can't possibly achieve anything now. This is it. This is my lot in life now. This is what I just have to deal with. But I know that's not the case, because I know there's people who have turned things around for them in various ways, who are older than me. Even back when we were at Slimming World, there were people who were much older than me and Andy who were achieving great things. There's people I follow on Twitter who have achieved great things. Many of whom are younger than me, yes, but even so. Ugh. Right. I'm going to have to get up on the roof. So yeah, I hope that wasn't too heavy, no pun intended, to talk about. But it's something that has really bothered me for a long time, and honestly I don't know if talking about it does help. But it's not something I've spent a lot of time talking about with a lot of people before, so I mean it can't hurt to try, can it? And I hasten to add that I'm not sort of looking for any advice or anything like that. I'm not looking for any sympathy. I just wanted to talk about some of the things that are on my mind, that I'm dealing with, that I'm going through. Because, you know, these things are important. These things are important and worthwhile to think about, and you need to pay attention to how your mind and body approaches all sorts of things. But yeah, not sure if I have anything else to say on that subject right now, but as I say, hopefully that's provided some food for thought and or clarity about the way I feel about certain things. And why certain things bother me, and that's about it really. So yeah, it has weighed heavily on my mind for a very long time. Like, we're talking decades at this point. And it's something that I very much know I should have done something about sooner. And I should have done something more permanent about. And when I did enjoy some success in this regard with Slimming World, I should have stuck with that success and tried to continue with a healthy life. But you know, life throws all sorts of curveballs your way. And the reason why both Andy and I ended up struggling was not really something either of us could especially control as such. It was just part of our life, and now we've just got to deal with it. Life, eh? Who would bother with it? Still, I hope you're enjoying the power washing. This is a thoroughly comfy game. As I say, it's a great game to chat with because it's absolutely mindless for the most part. But it's oh so satisfying. Like look at how I'm just ripping through that moss on the roof there. Just shredding through it. Clean out your gutters. Yeah, I guess part of the reason that I want to sort of resolve these situations is that I just want to try and feel a bit more normal again. I know that sounds like overly dramatic, but like I haven't felt normal for a long time. And I know that by virtue of certain things about myself, I'm not quote unquote normal. And that's fine, but you know, where it is possible to do what are regarded as normal things, it's nice to feel like you are able to do that. So like one of my biggest goals in all this is that one day I want to go back to Alton Towers with Andy, and I want to not be too fat to go on one of the rides. Because for me, I think that was one of the most humiliating, most horrible experiences of my life, is when I had to get off a ride in front of everyone because I didn't fit. And that was really, really upsetting. Because it was something I'd been looking forward to. And I felt like I'd ruined the experience for myself, and I'd also ruined the experience for Andy as well. So I felt terrible about that whole situation. So, I don't know. That's not helpful, is it? So yeah, that is one of many goals I have. Obviously, the main goal is to fix my hernia and feel better and not feel pain anytime there is the slightest bit of pressure on my stomach. Because that really sucks, believe me. Believe me. Do not get a hernia. They are rubbish. But yeah, aside from that, the prospect of being able to think, right, I want to go on holiday to such and such a place, and I want to be able to go there, and I want to be able to enjoy all the activities without having to worry about if I'm going to be able to do them. So anyway, just to talk on that subject for 55 minutes. Hope that at least some of you stuck around to listen to that. As I say, I'm not sort of trying to preach to anyone. I'm not looking for any advice. I just wanted to get some stuff off my chest, and this seemed like a good opportunity to do it. Because, as I say, it's not something I tend to talk about out loud all that much. It's not something I've really talked about with my friends. Sorry, wife coming in, asking silent questions. It's not something I've really talked about. It's not something I've discussed with my friends about. It's not even really something I've talked with Andy that much about. Because it's difficult, you know? It's difficult to talk about mistakes that you've made and self-perception and things that you might want to do to better yourself that are going to take some effort. Because, as I say, I'm under no illusions. This is going to take a lot of effort to fix. And I might not fix it completely. I might not succeed. But I definitely won't succeed if I don't try. So, you know. Anyway, we're 91% done here, so hopefully not too much more rambling to go. And, well, amid all this, I guess the things that have mostly been keeping me sane is the fact that the things I do like doing, my writing, my playing games, listening to music, podcasting, making videos, all of those things are things that I can still do, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the fact that people support me in doing those things. Because although, as I've said numerous times, I primarily do a lot of these things for my own enjoyment, knowing that other people are enjoying what you're doing is a powerful source of motivation. How do I reach that far off bit? Can I actually get on the roof? Oh, I can. That makes life much easier. No more stupid ladders. Simply walking around on a slippery, wet roof. What could possibly go wrong? I keep feeling like I should apologise for all that stuff that I'm talking about there, but you know what? No, I don't think I should, because it's important and it's worthwhile and it's something that, well, it's part of who I am, for better or worse, and it's something that I think it's worth people being aware of. Because it might help make a few things about me clearer. Lying down on the roof. Your filthy chimney. Oh, we're so nearly done with this roof as well. What have I missed? What have I missed? What have I missed? Doors. There's a door that is still dirty. Here a clip. This door is dirty. Oh no, there's a window that is dirty. Is it this one? Yes, it is. Precision nozzle time. Right, that's the frame and the window. So now 2 other window frames. This one is also dirty. It's always underneath. Always underneath. So where else have we got? This one. And 2 posts. Not those ones. What posts? These posts? No, that's a door frame. Oh no. I guess it must be these ones. No, but it says that's clean. So what am I looking for? Posts, 4 of 6. Those are all clean. There must be someone else somewhere. Post. Are you a post? You are a post. There we go. And this one. Hooray! Bungalow looks amazing, Doc. Thank you. They won't believe the impact it's had. Miles down the wood picking flowers, and Pops is muttering excitedly about another job he's got for you. So if you hear from a Leonard Miller, that'll be him. Alright, then we get a nice time lapse of a job well done. Although you can't see all my work around the back. There goes the roof. And all done. Marvellous. Alright, I think that's more than enough for today. Enough bearing my soul and power washing. So yeah, I hope you, I don't know if enjoyed that is the right term, but yeah, I hope that was worthwhile. Let's say, I've certainly found it quite worthwhile. So let's leave it there for now. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.